Good morning, everybody. Levi Whitney here again. And I figure it's time. I went ahead and played the dual pistols blaster, Kodiak Green. Now, unlike melee characters, blasters don't have access to a lot of armor. There's some powers that you can get to mitigate the damage intake, in this case, tough and body armor. And you can sometimes get damage resistance bonuses as set bonuses, as you can see here. I have 3 pieces of this set, which increases my lethal and smashing resistance by 2.25%. It's not much, but the more set bonuses you get, the more they stack up, which can end up making characters behave in wildly unexpected ways. Right now, this character is on an arc to deal with the Carnival of Shadows. And I have to go to Brickstown. So, I'm going to hop inside this base. And here we are, the Hunting Lodge. And toss these into storage. And before I go, I'm going to go ahead and check and see if I can make anything. 2-hit buffs. Charge reduction. And a set bonus for tempered readiness. Gotta check something real quick. I've only got 2 levels left on this character before 50. At that point, no more new powers, no more new slots. That wouldn't help me. As City of Heroes was shut down, the developers were making issue 24. Issue 24 ended up radically altering how blasters performed, and it has been completely for the best. Now, Hail of Bullets wasn't the kind that wasn't the kind of nuke power that made an endurance crash like a lot of the other nuke powers, but most blasters, for their tier 9 power here, the moment they activated it, their entire energy supply just drained. Gone. This ended up leaving them vulnerable. There were players who just crammed nothing but damage enhancements into those powers, so that they would be sure they would be wiping out most of the enemies they were hitting with it. Tactically sound, but it essentially turned every blaster into a suicide bomber. Not really great gameplay there. So, the developers played around with it a bit. And before the changes they implemented could be seen on live, the game was shut down. Now, however, blasters are going through what I would consider an overcorrection, but it's still fun, and it's still pretty easy for a blaster to get beaten. So I'm not that concerned. So, major changes. All of the nuke powers had their endurance wipe removed. A blaster could hit the enemy with a massive, damaging area of effect attack and keep going. The secondaries all wound up with a power that boosts recovery. So this blue bar hardly ever drops. It takes work to make a blaster lose their energy. But one of the neat things they did is that none of them work the same. So, for martial combat, this reaction time toggle, which is making this dark aura around my character, that's what's also boosting his recovery. And those were the major changes for blasters that have just wildly improved their survivability in solo play, even team play, because when you're on a team, enemy groups scale to your team size. On top of that, we're going in as if we're 2 players instead of just 1. If it were just 1, there'd only be 3 people per spawn, maybe 2, if one of them's a lieutenant. That's not fun. But some archetypes, that's all they can take. And some of the later content, enemies are so heavily redesigned. It becomes a real challenge to try to face anything outside of your actual team size. Might be why I hardly ever see anybody talking about First Ward or Night Ward. Good places, interesting locations. Not a particularly well fleshed out story. Let me see if I need anything to recharge faster. Not that I can see. Should put that away. Oh well. So, I don't feel like fighting these guys at their full strength. I'm going to hit them with a long-range missile. Outgoing alarm. Now, normally, an assault rifle would have been in my hands for that, but the munitions and dual pistols don't mix well. And I much prefer my character to be showing off dual pistols. Kind of an interesting effect, though. If you go into the costume creator and modify the costume to have an assault rifle for powers like long-range munitions rocket or cryo freeze ray, it removes one of your pistols, and your character runs around doing dual pistols attacks with just one pistol. but that is a bit too immersion breaking. So, blasters are intended to be just raw damage characters. Almost all of their powers involve dealing damage to the enemy. On top of that, their powers are, on average, the highest damage in the entire game. Like, no strategy, no tweaking, no modifying the battlefield. Blasters are doing power for power the most damage. Just raw damage. If they get lucky, stalkers and scrappers can out-damage blasters with a single attack, but that's only if they're lucky. Somebody tried to hold my character. So, when I said somebody tried to hold my character, this power, the reason why I have a green bar and a green ring around it, is that it auto-activates, but only activates if my character is at half health or if he's been held by one of the enemies. To further resist that, I've got this acrobatics power going, which is like a Mag 2 hold resist. Mag 2 knockout protection. That's not protection against getting pregnant. That's protection against getting knocked off my feet. The developers really should have made that one thing, but they wound up putting so many different mechanics into knockback. But there it is, the Mag 2 hold protection. Along with a 47% resistance to hold, so holds even last slower, or holds are broken quicker. So it didn't activate, because I'm not currently held, and I'm not below half health. So putting a green ring around that is a smart maneuver. Oh, here we go again. Illusionists do hold powers. Oh no. Well, it said I was held, but I wasn't. That was likely acrobatics in effect. Enemies that get too close to me are slowed. That'd be this power. Mind you though, it's only negative, and we got negative recharge, negative move. So they attack slower. They can still activate their entire suite of attacks. They'll just recharge slower. And this is going to be fun. Master Illusionist kicked the crap out of me. Ooh. How do I want to do this? Because I've got a res cocktail here. I've got a res power here. I think I'll go with this one. Or I could have gone to the hospital, and by the time I got back, she would have been half healed. This is a power you can get at the pay-to-win vendor, but as you can see, it recharges in 119 minutes. So it'll be 2 hours before I can do that again. The pay-to-win vendor is a bit of a little joke, referencing pay-to-win cash shops in video games. No real money is exchanged to play this game. Server costs are paid on an entirely volunteer effort, and it's only as much as the homecoming crew needs to actually pay the server costs. Absolutely no more money is accepted. Got another Master Illusionist over there. This time I can prepare better. Unless I do that. Hi vey. Infected. Oh! Ah, but I got her. I guess I'll go to the hospital then. I don't feel like burning a bunch of inspirations on enemies that are just going to fade away. Let me just clear that map. Ding. If I hadn't left a power set to fire and moved into a position where I could fire, I wouldn't have accidentally shot that Master Illusionist. That's my bad. Also, if I wasn't being so stingy with my enhancements, I probably could have survived that fight. But as you can see, even with the advantages that I mentioned before, blasters are still rather squishy. They can take more punishment than they could before, so they're not as much glass cannons as they used to be. But they're also not a viable replacement for a tanker or a scrapper when you need somebody to get in close, start wailing on the enemies, and gather everyone around them. On a lot of my other characters, That rock would have knocked me backwards, but that's what acrobatics is good for. Oh, right, like I was saying about the pay-to-win vendor. It's just a tongue-in-cheek joke. As you play through the game, you gain influence. Right there. And as you gain influence, and influence is basically money. You can use it to spend on enhancements. You spend it whenever you invent enhancements. You spend it for costume changes. You don't spend it on new powers, but again, you are spending it on the enhancements that are going into those powers. And you can also take it to the pay-to-win vendor to get some quirks, some buffs. There are some non-combat pets that you can get. A lot of people like to get the team transport power, which is a 10 million influence power that summons a vehicle of some kind to take you and your whole party to your next mission. Very useful for some of the higher content task forces. Ooh, missed. Oh, again. Wow. Why is that happening? Because that steel strongman hit me with a mask of weakness. Negative damage, negative accuracy. Oh no. Oh. That was unexpected. How'd I miss her before? Sometimes this game surprises me still. What is that? Okay, they're going back to their starting point. How did I miss her before? Is she on patrol? Doesn't look like it. Okay. LRM rocket. Fire. Getting close. Hit her with the John Woo power. And she's down. wait for her to fade back into existence. And that missed. That's not good. Dang. And she's down. Woo! That was a much tougher fight than I was expecting it to be. Those decoys are irritating. They don't do any damage, but you can wind up targeting them and just wasting a bunch of attacks on them. Unaffected. 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 You just gotta wait for them to fade away. A Dark Ring Mistress. So I've got this surveillance power. I'm now seeing the stats of the Dark Ring Mistress. Something I want to check. Huh. That's not much. It's interesting. They've got an accuracy bonus. So, a friend of mine, actually a couple friends of mine, and we fought an archvillain a couple days ago that wound up taking us by surprise. Not because she was hitting us very hard, but because we were doing chip damage to her. Except we weren't. But my friend hit her with another character's version of surveillance and checked her stats and found that her regeneration rate was insane. It was super high. He wound up having to switch to another character to reduce that, and even then, it was still like 30 minutes of constant wailing on her to finally bring her down. And all she was an archvillain version of a Dark Ring Mistress. But this regeneration rate doesn't look like it should scale that high if it's brought up to archvillain status. Weird. Not going to hit her with this again because it reduces her resistance. And then with a long range missile. Release the learn. Piercing rounds. Dual pistols piercing rounds. Double the penetration. They're boss level enemies for the Carnival of Shadows. They don't summon the way that the illusion mistresses do. But that just means that they hit like a truck when they hit you. That Steel Strongman earlier hit me with a power that reduced my accuracy and my damage. Dark Ring Mistresses can do the same thing, and it reduces your total endurance by half. For blasters, not much of an issue anymore. For a lot of other characters, ho, that's rough. I John Wooed them to death. You hit me with that fucking mask. The Seneschal. Fire tricks. Drop kick to the face. Get away from me. Ah, shoot, he was on the ground. Ah, After Effects still got him. Okie dokie. Let's clear out the rest of this cave. And just like that, my worst threats are gone. That's what it's supposed to do. I guess the strongmen have some knockback resistance. Oh good, I don't have to escort him out of here. Got 2 guns. And jump real high. Really, really high. There you have it. Chaz, if you ever watch this, here you are. Really cool thing, you can jump even higher with this. I'm pretty sure I got the badge that's up here. No, I didn't. The Flying Shark badge. The roof of the Zig is the site of the first breakout by Arachnos. Captain Mako had been captured by some heroes, only to escape, tearing a path of destruction through the Zig. It ended up on the roof, where he commandeered a longbow skiff to fly himself out. Mako was seen leaping from skiff to skiff during the aerial battle with longbow until he dove into the waters of Talos to swim back to the Isles. You cannot do that in this game. Savage Melee has a power that kind of does that. In order to do what this badge describes, the power would need to recharge every time it's activated. And on top of that, Mako was made at a time when Savage Melee didn't exist. I think he's got some sort of custom claws power. So that it doesn't actually extend claws and he winds up with alternate animations that make it look like he's actually swiping with his fingertips, which are clawed. Just keep questioning them about my missing reporter. Defeat 20 Carnival of Shadows. These missions. So there are 2 ways I can go about this. I can go to Peregrine Island, where the Carnies are, and fight them. Just seek them out, hunt them down, because that's what this is. This is a hunt mission. Or I can go to Peregrine Island and use a paper mission. Well, for the hero side, it's Police Band. One of the random missions. Healing, absorb, endurance. Healing, absorb, endurance, recharge. Recharge, heal, and absorb. Already using that. Can I convert it? I only have 4. So what I'm trying to do is convert this into something I can use. It'll cost me 3 converters. I only have 4. Healing, absorb, recharge. I can. Pull that out because somebody else could use it. This is a special enhancement created for the new Eon Strike Force. They're like Grammaton enhancements, except the guys that made these took more care to ensure that it was abilities that were regularly paired together. Like, geez, the Grammaton enhancements are like increased defense and healing given. It's like, what? there are no powers that put those together. What are you doing? Alright, go ahead and toss that there. Clear. Close that. So, putting those three together increases fire and cold resistance by 1.5% and mes resistance by 2.5%. So when I'm put to sleep or held, I recover from it more quickly. Alright, toss that in there, that in there, and that in there. Technically, I could take these 45s and they would be more useful than any of the single origin enhancements I'm still using. Like here. So, increases damage by 40.5%. Increases damage by 36.7%. Combine those together. It's now a level 51 enhancement. Increases the damage of one of your attacks by 38.3%. It'll only replace. I can't make any better single origin enhancements. 38.3% increase is the best it will ever be on single origin. Or I could slap this 45 in there and get a full 2% boost to damage. But I don't want to do that. I've got other characters in this group. This character, the moment she hits level 42, will be able to use these level 45 enhancements that will boost her fighting capability tremendously. When it comes to the invention origin enhancements, just the basic ones, I usually don't start investing in them until level 40, which would be level 37. So when they can slot in level 40 enhancements. I used to invest at level 35 because the level 35 ones are as powerful as a +1 single origin enhancement. But then I got to the point where I was thinking, you know what? I would rather double XP my characters to level 35 and then build up their influence so they can start slotting in level 40 at level 37. And as I've mentioned elsewhere, this game was designed around these single origin enhancements. All of the challenges, all of the dangers, all of the threats. The enhancement bonuses from these, the raw output of these, that's all just gravy. And I'm perfectly happy with that. So I've got 20 Carnival of Shadows that I need to defeat. I can go around on the streets and hunt them down, find their usual hangouts, and fight them. Sometimes they'll appear over here and ambush me, but sometimes they won't. And sometimes they just won't spawn at all. Instead, I wind up fighting these aliens, the Ricti. But there were no carnies there. That number didn't go down. In case you're wondering why I'm stating the obvious, it's because sometimes Let's Players do that, and it grates on me. So I'm having trouble finding carnies. So, what can I do? Get to a safe position where no one will attack me. Maybe. Pull up my contacts. Activate the police band. Rescue Audrey Farber. Security camera footage showing members of the Arachnos in the area. So that tells me who I'll be fighting. I do not want to fight the Arachnos. APB is in effect. Event Horizon has been taken from Krotoa Museum of Antiquities. What the hell? Well, that was a bit of lazy writing. Maybe. Krotoa is a location in this game. It's based on Salem. In fact, the name of the town is actually Salamanca. But it's labeled in transportation as Kroatoa. In the game's actual story, Kroatoa is a spirit world that's encroaching on Salamanca. It was an interesting bit of story. So interesting, in fact, that the developers made it a permanent addition to the game rather than just a Halloween event location. Something I kind of wish they'd done a little more of in City of Heroes. Adding little locations with their own little arcs that you can do in certain level ranges. But I understand map design is intensive, and if you're going to be building maps, you may as well build something that is going to be huge and impactful. And Kroatoa is, well, while it's huge, it's not that impactful. It's just some interesting stuff. However, rant aside, sounds like members of the Circle of Thorns. Oddly enough, this is a thematically appropriate random mission. Circle of Thorns stealing something they would actually be interested in. Warrant has been issued for the rest of Veratsu. Now this ends up being one of those interesting moments, because the mission doesn't tell you who you'd be up against, but it does in a roundabout way. Veratsu. If you learn the gimmicks that the enemies use for how their bosses are named, you can easily figure out, well, for the most part, you can easily figure out who your enemies are going to be. It's a little wonky in the early levels, because some of the enemies share naming conventions, such as the skulls and the Vazalok. The Vazalok are insane surgeons who are trying to master life and death. And the skulls, as I mentioned in other videos, are a street gang obsessed with death and necromancy. Their naming conventions for the skulls revolve around bones and death, but mostly bones. The naming conventions for the Vazalok revolve around surgical procedures and surgical terminology, which sometimes includes bones. So, you go into a mission for a guy named Splice, yeah, that's probably going to be Vazalok. Go into a mission for a guy named Ribcage, that's probably a skull. Go into a mission for a guy named Clavicle, however, that gets a little more wonky. So you end up going to the mission being like, yeah, am I fighting Vazalok who are going to have their zombies puke all over me, or am I going up against skulls and I'm just going to get shot at and hit with baseball bats and hatchets? Now, in this case, this is a Circle of Thorns mission. The Circle of Thorns favor grandiose, Latin-ish sounding names. Now, I could go into the mission and prove myself right. Now, what the hell? I'll go ahead and do that. In fact, I feel like fighting the Circle of Thorns. Fighting the Carnies, they've got a lot of special tricks. And right now, I just want to wipe some enemies out. If I'm going to fight the Circle of Thorns, I'm going to change my outfit. Got the John Wick, got the Boondock Saint. We've got the Armored Commando. 2 flavors of the Grammaton Cleric. The Wasteland Survivor. The Steampunk Hero, or the Nemesis Infiltrator. The Cyberpunk. The Detective. And the Green Hood. Yes, I said that. For fighting a group of wizards in an office building, I'm going to go with the Grammaton Cleric from Equilibrium. One of those fun little moments. There. And there they are, the Circle of Thorns. to make this hurt. If you've ever seen the movie Equilibrium, you'd understand. The Circle of Thorns would normally be a bit of an odd mix for a superhero game, but comic books have all kinds of things. Oh, I missed. Would have been funny if I missed that. As enemies, the Circle of Thorns are a bit underwhelming compared to the Carnival of Shadows, because they're very straightforward. They're like, in challenge rating, I would say they're about a step above the Council or the Fifth Column. Because again, the Council and the Fifth Column are the same group. They just have different outfits. Mechanics-wise, they're the same group. The Circle of Thorns, like I said, they're just a step above the two of them, if only because they bring a lot more elemental damage to the fight. You end up fighting more fire, more ice, more darkness. Throughout the different level ranges, 1 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 15, etc., 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 all the way to 50, you see the Circle of Thorns bring out different wizard types until they eventually culminate in these Ice Thorn casters. Personally, I feel that's a downgrade. If I'd made this, I would have made it so that the level 45 to 50 Circle of Thorns was a mixed bag of wizards. You wouldn't see any more of these guides. All they do is slashing and lethal damage. That's all they do. They are cannon fodder. Ice Thorn casters, they hit you with ice. It's cold. It slows you down. Understandable. You wind up fighting enough of these guys, you won't be able to hit back as they're wailing on you. But these Behemoth Overlords are the same Behemoth Overlords we've been fighting for, I think, 30 levels? Maybe 25? Thereabouts. They replaced the Spectral Demon Lords. I'm happy about that. I hate the Spectral Demon Lords. Everyone hates the Spectral Demon Lords. They radiate an aura that does damage to you and reduces your 2-hit. That's a hell of a challenge to deal with in the teen levels, especially during the old days when we didn't have inherent stamina, because that was a level 20 power, and there you were at level 15, and you miss 5 attacks, and you're sucking air and can't fight back. Those were challenging days. But now stamina is inherent. We're all superheroes. We're athletic. We've got 4 powers automatically added to our characters. And we were given no extra slots to deal with that. Well. It wasn't like I put slots into these anyway. Only a few characters will I put slots into, like Help. In the old days of stone armor slowing you down, I would put extra slots into Swift. It got funny being a rooted character, just zipping along with the rest of the team and everyone being like, wow, how are you moving so fast? I 3-slotted Swift. You poor bastard. And then you drop rooted and just zip around like you're sprinting everywhere. Alright, enough of this. And now, move in and John woo them to death. But yeah, level 40 to 45, they've got air thorn casters that are flying around and shooting lightning. At one point, there's fire thorn casters, and all they do is shoot fire at you. Massive damage, but that's about it. However, the fire thorn casters do have one ability that, if you're not really paying attention, it will catch you off guard. Ooh. They hold you. Now, what am I going to do here? I did not go into this fight smart. If I'd done it smart, I probably would have popped some of these inspirations and really wrecked these guys before I was beaten. So I can combine inspirations and make a resurrection cocktail. And since I'm recording, I'm not going to wait for this to recharge. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, and blaze away. Hold on to that when I get my next res power or res inspiration. Inner inspiration from the pay to win vendor grants random inspirations. Inner will activated because I was still below half health. And combine these into a bounce back, a stronger self-res inspiration. And I'm good to go. And there's Veratsu. He's up there. Remember that dark power I was talking about? Does damage and reduces your 2 hit. So he's a death mage, and he's got that power. And as a boss, it hits even harder. So I'm going to hit this guy as hard as I possibly can. That should do it. I got him before he could get the aura off. He got a tier 3 damage resist out of him. So that was a random mission. Simple, straightforward. That is not what I wanted to see. It's telling me to talk to this guy. You know what? I'll go ahead and do it, because there are carnies in that mission. Protecting a Peregrine Island bank. Frankly, I'm surprised it took the Paragon developers so long to, well, Paragon and Cryptic, to conceive of this. You do some Radiant missions, the random missions. But that'll get boring after a while. So, the game mixes it up a bit and goes, hey, go stop a bank from being robbed. Villains that got the first iteration of this, the Mayhem mission, do the exact opposite. Their job is to go rob a bank. And what's even funnier is that the two types of missions are inverses of each other. Villains have to do mayhem. They go to the City of Heroes, they go to Paragon, and they go to one of the Paragon zones, or a broken down version of one of the Paragon zones, and they have to wreck everything in sight to cause enough of a distraction so they can go to the bank largely unopposed. If they just rush straight to the bank, every single longbow spawn immediately pops and rushes the bank. I've seen it happen, and it is rough. Despite that, a lot of players just go, alright, I'm going to rush through this mayhem mission real quick. They go in, they rob the bank, they fight the hero, and run. And if they do it too slow, they get hit by an army of longbow enemies. Heroes have the exact opposite problem. They're not committing mayhem. Their job is to go protect the bank. Heroes have to rush to the bank. The map is full of enemies. If they're not careful, they'll get stopped by those enemies. There is a time limit that you don't see, and eventually the bank will start getting robbed. But if you're doing the mission right, you just go straight to the bank, which initiates the bank robbery, and then you can chase down the villain. And if you're doing it quick enough, you do it before they even have a chance to get to the vault. Then, once you've stopped the robbery, you go around the map. Now you've got a time limit. You have to go around and deal with the different acts of mayhem that are going on around the city. You can deal with all of those enemies who were slowing you down before. So, Peregrine Island, we're surrounded by sappers, the Malta Group, a mercenary company. The Malta Group's an interesting group. They are the game's version of the Illuminati. Here's the bank I gotta get to. Unlike the conspiracy theory of the Illuminati, the Malta Group is a group of paranoid rich men and politicians who were terrified of the Cold War, terrified of communism, and that ended up evolving into terror at losing control. So, they hire mercenaries to do their dirty work for them. These mercenaries, they love their job. They are 100% loyal to the cause. So much so that it could be inferred that they've also got stock in what the Malta Group is doing, which is trying to take over the world. They use high caliber weaponry and high technology to halt superheroes in their tracks. Got a dark ring mistress there. Release the bees. Ooh, if I do this right. Ah, she bounced off. Ah, she bounced off again. Sometimes enemies will stick to these blue walls. Okay. So I got a weapon steal I have to deal with. And here come more carnies. And there they are. And there they went. Sappers. They will suck the energy out of your character. They don't do any damage, but they can cause a hold, and they suck the energy out of your character. They are the core element of the Malta Group. They are the single most hated enemy in the game. And fuck him. remember when I first played this game, I wound up joining a high-level team, and I saw the Malta group earlier than I should have. I also saw the Malta group running around on the streets back in the days when they could spawn an ambush in King's Row. Those were fun times. You're a level 15 character running through the streets, and all of a sudden there's a group of commandos running around at level 49. They see you. They don't care that you're a much, much lower level than them. They want you dead. They want all heroes dead. But a bunch of players complained about that happening. I don't need to kill everybody in this building, and I already got the people I was after. Let's see what I get. This will give me a temporary power. Electromagnetic grenades, 30 of them. Ah, cool. Those are useful against robots. But, like I said, I'm doing this to find and defeat carnies. I've got 11 more I need to defeat. That's almost the other thing that the Malta group is known for. Hercules, Titans. But what they're really known for are the Zeus class Titans. And the funny thing is, you get two Hercs together, damage one of them enough, and they'll merge into a Zeus class Titan. A friend of mine and I, we love to make it happen. Because it's interesting. When you play for maximum efficiency, you suck the fun out of the game. You stop doing the interesting things. You stop seeing the interesting things. And it just becomes math homework. Gonna find more carnies there. Ooh, arson. Ugh, arson. Bip, 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 bip. I'll be jumping into here real quick. Did all that because I knew I'd be running into her. No, it's not Chaz's ex-girlfriend. At least he doesn't think so. And a group of carnies will be showing up to try to stop me. And there they are. Gotta beat these people quick. If I don't do this in time, this building goes up in a blaze, and the fire will hurt me. One more carny. Completing these missions gives you some bonus time to continue. I'm a bit up. There we go. And there we go. A dark ring mistress. I'll put that there. Use that. And the mission's over. But they're trying to do a jailbreak. This can actually be one of the tougher missions to do. Because there are several bosses. Dark Ring Mistress. It missed. Alright, now this cop is going to help me. High-level police are merged with energy beings called the Chaldeans. Damn. Ugh. Now I can go to the hospital. Normally, this takes me out of the mission. This mission is set up to not do that. Damn, that sucked. Whew. Okay. Nobody there. Nobody there. There should be one right there. Ah, yes. One more thing blasters can do that I forgot to mention. When held, they have what's called Blaster Defiance, which gives them access to 3 powers. They're tier 1 powers. Pistols, dual wield, or key push. Only those 3 powers. So if you skip the first power and move on to anything else, you will only have access to 2 powers. Okay. This is the prison break we're trying to stop. Silent Blade is a criminal who was arrested. I believe... Ah, there it is. She's Katana Ninjutsu. Victory! Is there somebody else in here? I swear I was hearing something. Hello, ladies. I know I could just leave right now, but I don't want to. See, fighting through here has made me very, very angry. That's what you get, ugly. Actually, the more unsettling thing is that they probably look like Blaster from Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. Oh, that's kind of sad. I'm stunned. I'm just Bugs Bunnying this guy. Scanned. Missiled. I remember when people were debating what the LRM rocket stands for. What LRM stands for in LRM rocket. Looks like I just got shot by a sapper. Might have missed me. And unfortunately, the description doesn't tell you what it stands for. The LRM rocket is a powerful piece of hardware. Most people think that it's just long-range munitions. But I recently got into Battletech. I'm fairly certain this was supposed to be a shout out to the LRM. Which was long-range missiles. LRM 5, LRM 10, LRM 15, LRM 20. With a number indicating how many missiles per salvo those launchers deliver. And when I clear this tunnel, you're going to send an ambush after me. Here they come. Here they come. Hello, ladies. Oh. Oh. Yes! Got them just in time. Or rather, I activated the power at just the right time. Pull! Ah, skeet, 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 skeet. So I don't know if this game seems quiet for anybody. I gotta do this quick because I'm running out of time. Sound effects is down to 1% volume. This is a loud game. Here. That whining sound you were hearing? Was that camera. The humming is this bomb. And that's something funny. I've gone this whole game, the whole time I've played this game, without knowing these cameras make noise. Yeah, there's a lot of ambient noise in this game. I'm only going to do this for a little while. Five is usually my limit. That's so I can carry on conversations with friends without letting the game distract me. You can't take on a Grammaton Cleric? Alright, I feel like I've done enough on this. And I feel like I've recorded enough. I hope you had fun watching. Like I said, this is one of the more interesting characters I play. Blasters tend to be more interesting. They don't have the benefit of being able to just shrug off every single hold thrown their way. Like, enemies have to stack, like, somewhere around 10 different mesmerizing effects. And it has to be the same effect. Like, they can't be hit with, like, 6 stuns and 4 holds and be held. No, it has to be, like, 10 holds or 10 stuns, 10 sleeps. It takes a lot to bring a tanker down. Not as much a brute or a scrapper, but the difference is negligible. Oh, just one more? The only enemy group I've been able to see consistently do it is the Sioux. And that's if it's one of their energy melee types. The blue ink men or the green ink men. And they just wail energy melee stuns on the tanker or the scrapper. But it vanishes quick. Now, another reason why you do the safeguard missions. When you're done, the detective will introduce you to a contact you haven't already unlocked. Unfortunately, I already have all the top tier contacts. Maria Jenkins sends you on a quest to take on the mirror versions of the game's main setting heroes. When they revamped the arc, it would have been interesting if they included a few other elements, but they basically just made it a one-for-one swap, changed up some things so that you weren't fighting the top dog of the Praetorians, Emperor Cole, or the Tyrant, but instead fighting one of his clones. Unai Keeman sends you on a interdimensional adventure that is a lot less satisfying than you would think. You're basically fighting mirror versions of some of the game's archvillains. It's kind of a victory lap, kind of not. Unai Keeman for a long time was the only place where you could fight the freak show bosses, Drek and Bile. Who for some reason never appeared in the main game proper. Well, that's not exactly true. Drek appears on Red Side for a special arc where you were trying to create an Arachnos run, Legion of Doom. It falls apart. It's an entertaining arc. For a long time, I ignored Montague Castanella. His arc, you're supposed to start doing at level 10. It grants access to the Midnighter Club, which is the game's magicians. Well, they're the mostly hero, technically neutral magicians. They're trying to keep the world from being torn apart by metaphysical crap. They also are seeking revenge against the Ricti, so his arc revolves around eventually curing the lost, which are pre-Ricti, humans that are being converted. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anybody who hasn't yet played this almost 2-decade-old game. Sorry if that's a spoiler for anybody who can't figure out, these mutant homeless men with alien weapons might be related to the alien creatures. But a large part of the reason why I avoided his arc is because it was given really, really terrible rewards. But the Homecoming crew have fixed that, and I just haven't gotten out of the habit. Daedalus, an ancient Roman version of the game's top-tier hero, Positron. So I would have to go to the Midnighter Club and go back in time to the Cimarora Peninsula, which is in somewhere, ancient Rome, ancient Greece. It's weird. The game is heavily based on Greco-Roman mythology, but when you go to Cimarora, it's like, this place never existed. So it's weird. Crimson puts you on arcs to deal with Malta Group. There's implication that he's a CIA agent who ended up figuring out what the Malta Group was. And rather than attack them directly, he understood that they would use their connections to kill him. So he started fighting them indirectly and getting superheroes involved. By the end of the game, the Malta Group still hasn't figured out that Crimson has their number. He has an opposite in Arachnos named Viridian, who also has a chip on his shoulder regarding the Malta Group. So while Crimson and Viridian don't like each other, it's implied that they used to be partners. Hence their code names, which are red and green, respectively. They don't out each other to the Malta Group. Talking to her would be a waste of time. She just introduces me to mechanics in the first ward and the night ward, and then stops talking to me. I've outleveled the stuff that goes on in first ward and night ward. To do any of that, I would have to use the Ouroboros portal. So I'm going to go ahead and set up the next mission on this arc. I think I've talked about enough. He sends you on a mission to introduce you to Cimarora stuff. Provost Marchand. He's leading a group of people in Brickstown. A group of Praetorians who are trying to be new heroes. They're trying to redeem themselves for who they used to be. And I'm going to stop distracting myself and go ahead and end this recording. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.